Force users and fellow superheroes, what is up? It's Jasmine, the Ahsoka Tano fan, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So it's time for another episode of Loki. The first two have been off to a great start. Obviously in the last episode we had that reveal at the end with Lady Loki, or who I presume is Lady Loki. Although I've kind of seen some of your comments about how Marvel might be combining two characters, both Lady Loki and the Enchantress, and from my understanding of it, it is a little bit confusing for someone like myself who's not super comic savvy, but from my understanding of it, it seems like in the comics there is another character called Sylvie who is supposed to be the Enchantress who was created by Loki, and this character's name is supposed to be Sylvie apparently. There's also an actual variant of Loki by the name of Sylvie, I think it's Laufeydatir, that's how you pronounce it, which basically means daughter of the frost giant Laufey, because Loki's full name is Loki Laufeyson, right? If that is the case, if this is Sylvie Laufeydatir, then that would indeed be a variant of Loki himself, and that would make her Lady Loki. So I'm not sure which direction they're taking, but depending on which one she is, that'll definitely impact the storyline, whether she's Loki herself. That would mean that she would be his complete equal, and that would raise the question as to where in the timeline she's from. You know, is she from after the events of Endgame, or is she from a totally different universe where Endgame didn't happen? All those questions have to be answered. And then of course, if she is Enchantress, and that would mean she's created by Loki, then are we going to actually still see Lady Loki later on in the series, or in one of the upcoming movies like Doctor Strange? If that's the case, they would have to address why Loki did send Enchantress in to do everything that she's doing now with the timeline, to reset the timeline. So I believe in the comics, Sylvie is supposed to be the second Enchantress. The original Enchantress is Amora, who's supposed to be an enemy of Thor. So then Loki ends up creating another Enchantress, but who goes by the name of Sylvie Lushton, and she ends up coming face to face with the Young Avengers. So if this is the Enchantress, yeah, we definitely have to figure out why Loki sent her in the series, and what her purpose is, and what Loki's plan is, the variant Loki, who would likely be Lady Loki in this case. Or, as we were saying before, guys, is she a mixture of both characters, and how will that pan out? And we do know that at the end of the last episode, Loki, our Loki, did, I feel like it's gonna be confusing discerning between our Loki and any variant Lokis that we might encounter in the series, but our Loki went through that time portal and followed Lady Loki / Enchantress. I get the feeling that they're probably going to be working together now, or at least for the first little bit, and he may actually learn that she isn't really the bad guy. This is something that was discussed in a live stream that I did this past week. My friend Jedi Jive's sister Jenny had pointed out that she thinks that even though they're trying to paint this Lady Loki person as a terrorist, as you know, this variant creating chaos, she may actually be the good guy here. She may actually be a freedom fighter. She may not be as the TVA is trying to paint her to be, right? And so there's still a lot more going on with the TVA. I think there definitely is some deeper, darker secret. I know some of you have questioned whether Kang might be controlling the TVA, and you know, how will Loki overcome that? So there's definitely a lot still, guys, that we have to figure out here. But yeah, I'm definitely curious to see where the story is going next, and I do want to find out who this Lady Loki / Enchantress person is for sure, because it was pointed out that in one of the documents, one of the case files Loki was looking at, you saw the name Sylvie Laufeydatir. I don't know if I'm butchering that name, by the way. Anyways, I don't want to speculate too much, guys. I want to jump right in and see what's in store for us, and see whether the episode picks up right where it left off in the last episode. So without further ado, let's get this video rolling and let's dive in and see what's in store for us. Loki finds out about the variant's plans, but he has his own that will forever alter both their destinies. And it's called LAMENTIS. What's LAMENTIS, I'm wondering? Is that like a planet or something? See, I'm wondering what she's planning, because she sent all those time resets to different points in the timeline, right? So that's going to be chaotic for sure. Definitely setting up for Doctor Strange. And where's Ramona going? They don't have my theme song, man. I wonder what scene this is. Oh, she's one of the... Oh my gosh, that's Sylvie. So they're showing us what they were like before the TVA? Well, I don't know if that makes sense before the TVA, because the TVA kind of doesn't exist in time the way we think it does, just kind of exists, right? Is that true, really?
Absolutely not true. It is. Okay, try it. Whatever you're thinking about will get frozen in place.
Oh, is she in her mind?
Sorry, what?
What?
Seriously, though, you know you can tell me anything, right? Of course.
Is she taking her to different universes?
Remember, I know this place.
So that was her life before she joined the TVA, I think.
That I know you.
Wow. Some serious WandaVision stuff going on. So was Loki with her then? Oh, this was before. Okay. Okay, so that's how she got her to reveal the information. Yeah, that definitely reminds me of WandaVision. Just with her manipulating people's minds and their realities. So does she know Loki's about to follow her through? Did her magic not work on him? Whoa, that was a nice move. Holy. Damn. Just pruning these people, man. Oh, okay. So she doesn't know that he's there. What's he thinking about? Oh, he grabbed the weapon. Okay. Ah. He's getting his signature blades, right? That we saw him with in Thor Ragnarok. Well, I don't think that they're the same blades, but we're getting there. Oh, they're meeting again. Oh, I love when he does that. You are my way. I like that. See, even if she is a Loki variant, I still feel like Loki should be able to take her. Because he's still in a stronger body, I would say. Oh, cold. So where do they go to? She was about to just kill Loki like that? That's right, Loki. You show her who's boss. Well, I still don't know if she's Loki or not. But... So she's not a Loki? What? Is this LAMENTIS? Okay, yeah, because the episode's called that, right? I don't remember if I've ever seen this planet before, though, in the Marvel movies. There have been so many of them that I can't remember all of them. Oh, it's a moon. Okay. She said then if it blows up, you blow up, then I end up blown up. So is she hinting that she is a Loki then? I don't know. I can't figure her out. Trying to read him?
You're trying to enchant me.
Enchant me?
It won't work.
Enchantress?
Why?
Very droll. Lovely. Okay, yes. I do have a 10-pad. Kill me every 30 seconds.
You need me to get that thing recharged.
Maybe. I mean, sure.
The plan you interrupted was years in the making.
Maybe you should tell him what it is then.
Years. Finish what I started.
Good.
Sounds like Kylo Ren there.
And I will finish what you started.
Man, is she Loki? Is she the Enchantress? Yes. You guys know those memes where you ask questions and the answer is just yes, because it doesn't make sense.
So what's the with me, Loki?
Loki.
Good, because that's not who I am anymore. I'm Sylvie now.
Oh, you changed your name.
I'm Sylvie now. Okay.
Yes. What exactly makes a Loki a Loki?
Independence, authority, style.
So now I'm to work for... Well, I'm not you.
more towards Enchantress because she does not seem like a copy of him. She insists on not being called Loki and that she's not him. So it makes more sense that he created her maybe and she wants to prove herself as being more than Loki. Or more than a Loki, I should say. What is this place? It's like an abandoned town. But this was definitely in the trailer, so now we know for sure the woman in the trailer is her and probably not Natasha. I was kind of hoping it'd be Natasha, but I guess that wouldn't have really made sense to the storyline though. Whoa, who's that?
I did too. Despite my...
Loki's not gonna be able to convince her either, really. Oh my gosh. Stop. Oh my gosh. She's gonna blast him anyway, I bet you. Oh my gosh. Nice try, Loki. Who's this lady though? Huh, ticket again. Remember guys, the first episode? They kept wanting Loki to get a ticket, the TVA. I'm not sure it's related though, but just kind of reminded me of that. A lot of purple in this episode. Power Stone. Sorry, me and my colors, guys. I'm obsessed. She's gonna enchant a guard. I think she's probably Enchantress. That's my guess right now. I just love Loki. Whoa, it actually worked. Wow. That's upsetting that they're only giving tickets to wealthy people. But this is exactly what would happen in our society. Oh my god.
Headquarters radioed in their request for them this morning.
Did she plant that thought in his head? That's what she did by touching him, right? She planted a memory that didn't really happen. So that's what made him say that. I like that we're getting to see a little bit of injustices that happen in their universe, right? The wealthy being able to evacuate, while the less fortunate people have to remain on the planet. On the moon, I should say. Why do you keep hammering my dude, man?
I'm not going to waste my time rooting around my mother.
Oh.
What was she like?
What was she like? So that means she doesn't know. So she can't be a variant of Loki then. She has to have been created by him.
You sure she was your mother?
No, she's not.
Oh.
She's adopted.
No, I knew I was adopted.
I knew I was adopted. What? Oh my gosh.
I mean,
What the fuck are you? Okay, so she is a variant of Loki from a different timeline.
Just blips of a dream.
Okay, talk about your fathers. The Frost Giant? Oh. But why can't she do magic also then?
Illusion.
Wouldn't it be easier if I just
Enchanted me and make it give you the 10
I was gonna say, is she trying to get him to give him 10 pence?
Yes, thank you very much.
No, I'm good, thanks.
Oh, I'll take hers.
Oh, Loki. Oh my gosh, I love this guy.
Yes.
So you notice how much space there is on the vessel? They could have easily fit those people on there.
Maybe love is hate.
Maybe love is hate. Interesting.
Love is hate.
Oh, piss off. Relationship with a postman whilst running across time from one apocalypse to another.
She needs a new, like,
You're a prince.
crown thing. Her
Must have
horns.
been would-be princesses, or perhaps another prince.
A bit of both.
Wait, now are they talking about just, like, because Loki kind of gender swaps? Or are they implying that he's bi or something? Loki has never had a love interest. He's one of the only people who hasn't
Right? You relax your...
in the Avengers.
I'll relax mine.
Even though he's not technically an Avenger, but Black Widow had one. Her and Hulk kind of had a thing going on. Tony Stark, Thor, Hawkeye, Wanda and Vision, Ant-Man, Wasp, Captain America. But he's the only one that really has not. Well, I guess Falcon too. Oh my gosh, what's he doing? Who's that? He doesn't have a bad voice. What's he saying though? Oh. I get the sense that she knows what he's singing about though.
You're drunk.
No, I'm just full, but bear in mind, I'm very full.
He's drunk.
Yes.
Fascists you work for.
She called them fascists. Interesting, the TVA.
Until it makes you bleed. But ultimately, when you reach for it,
Disappears?
It isn't real.
That was deep.
No, terrible metaphor.
But according to Mobius, nothing really makes sense. Oh, shit.
you again.
Loki messed up. Oh my gosh, Loki. Oh my gosh.
There is
Oh my goodness. He's a clown. Oh, shoot. Oh. So I guess maybe he hasn't really fully developed his magic yet, because I feel like the Loki in the later events of the MCU would have been able to like make the tickets out of thin air. I don't know. Oh, we just wasted him. Bye. Oh no! Oh my gosh. Oh, that's all she's thinking about. Oh my gosh, that was their one way off. It's broken? Shit, she just lost it for a sec there. He did kind of screw up there though.
Did the screen make you feel better?
Way to kill the mood.
Try it sometime.
Don't tempt him. Is he gonna scream now?
So what, we hijack the arc and make sure it gets off this moon?
I love how optimistic he is. How are they gonna do that though?
I'm in control, but they're there too. In order to preserve the connection
Interesting.
Be a magician.
from hundreds of years prior, before she even fought for them.
That was
What did you say?
hundreds of years prior?
Yeah, she was just a regular person on Earth.
A regular person.
Loved margaritas. They're all variants, just like us.
Huh. That's kind of some of what we talked about in the beginning. I think, like, how did the TVA not know that they're variants? I think I mentioned that in my last video.
You can.
And what do you know? They actually are variants. Seems like it's gonna be challenging to get there. Okay, I think they're out of time. Interesting how that planet's green. Like Loki and Lady Loki, or Enchantress's colors. Whoa. It's so ironic because I feel like Loki is a god, but this TV series really shows him to be kind of just like a man almost. Like a regular man. Shit, she lost her cape. That's terrible, wow. Jeez, how are they gonna get out of this? Whoa. Why haven't you been doing that all along, Loki? Can they do that to the whole planet? Is it possible that Sylvie dies? And then Loki has to finish what she started? But would they be willing to do that? Like just bring her in and then kill her off so soon? She's walking away. You're just giving up, or? That is not the end. Are you serious? Oh my gosh. Okay, cliffhanger. Okay. So I have to just make sure there's no end credit scenes. Doesn't look like there is. Interesting episode. I think it definitely took a different approach compared to the first two. The first two, we were kind of inside the TVA headquarters, if you want to call it that. We got to know Mobius and other characters. This episode kind of took us a step back, took us out of that environment to now learn a different perspective of the TVA from Sylvie. She had a big reveal there, which kind of confirmed some of the discussions we've been having. And one of the things I mentioned in my last video was that how does the TVA not know that they're not all variants? That's what Sylvie confirmed in this episode, or seemingly confirmed, which was that they're just regular people, they're variants like us. Yeah, that just definitely adds to this idea that there's so much that is unknown here, and there's definitely a deeper, darker secret involving the TVA. And I mentioned this from episode 1, which was that when you see that scene where Loki is like physically descending down these levels, I said that I feel like that symbolizes him literally getting to the bottom of whatever secret this is, and we're starting to see the secret unravel a bit now. It just definitely begs the question, who is at the top of all of this, right? If there's a dark secret brewing at the bottom of this within the TVA, then there's got to be someone at the top, you know, and we have to find out who that is, whether it's Kang, as some of you pointed out, or if it's somebody else, another Loki variant, I don't know. So there's still a lot more about the TVA that we don't know about, that we have to get to the bottom of. If they're variants, like where are their other forms? Where else do they exist in the timeline in other universes? Are they dead in some realities, but in the TVA they're alive? Yeah, guys, overall, this episode mainly focused on Sylvie and Loki, you know, them kind of getting to know one another, although it's kind of one-sided. It seems like Sylvie was learning more about Loki than the other way around. She's kind of standoffish a lot in the episode, but it's ironic because she's a lot more like Loki than she maybe wants to consider. And she says time and time again, don't call me Loki. She said that for the first time last episode, don't call me Loki, call me Randy, I think she joked about. And she said it again now, I'm not Loki. And so she definitely clearly wants to separate herself from Loki's image, which makes me question whether she is a true variant of Loki or not. She probably is a mixture of both the Enchantress and Lady Loki, and I think that's quite literally reflected in the language. She makes a lot of references to enchanting. I think at one point Loki asked her like if she was gonna enchant one of the guards, and then he asked her how enchantment works, and which gives me the impression that he doesn't fully know how it works himself, or at least not yet. Then she also says things like, oh yeah, I knew I was adopted, you know, which implies that she has the same sort of story as Loki, but potentially from another timeline. So I don't know, I'm not sure what exactly they're doing with her character, but at some point, right now we know that she is Sylvie, but we don't know if she's Sylvie Lafayette, that's how you pronounce it. I cringe every time I try and pronounce that. Or if she's Sophie Lushton, right, which are two different characters, Lady Loki and Enchantress respectively, or the second Enchantress, I should say. At some point, I think in the series, they're gonna have to explain exactly who she is if they are gonna do a mixture of those two characters, because it's seemingly different from the comics so far, so they're gonna have to definitely kind of explain that a little bit more, I think. I enjoyed their relationship, but there are moments also where I kind of felt like she was hard on him and very, as I said, standoffish. Actually, from the end of last episode, I kind of expected her to have a little bit more of a mysterious nature, and I kind of expected her maybe to be almost like Viper, I guess. Viper from Wolverine is the best example I can think of if you guys watched that movie.
Sorry to interrupt.
What are you?
A chemist, nihilist, capitalist, a viper.
Viper is very cunning, she's very calculated, and she's good at manipulating people, and she kind of has this way about her that's very, she's super feminine, but she's also very like mysterious. You know she's up to no good, right? And even Hela had a bit of that as well. So I guess I kind of expected Sylvie to be like that, but in this episode, she almost kind of seemed like, kind of like the stubborn younger sister, and then Loki kind of seemed like the trolling older brother. So I'm not sure if I expected them to have that relationship or not. Nonetheless, I think they are more alike than either of them would like to admit. But one thing I will say about Sylvie is she does seem more ahead in her thinking in terms of planning. She definitely seems to see the bigger picture and wanting to look at the future and plan ahead. You know, future, no pun intended, because we're talking about a time show here. Whereas Loki kind of seems to do things more in the moment, is more spontaneous, doesn't mind getting drunk. He totally fucked up the mission there, by the way. But it was a funny scene, so I'll take it. If she is at least partly a version of Loki, I am kind of wondering where or when she comes from. Like, is she coming from, as one of you pointed out in my comics, after the events of Avengers Endgame? And is she coming, like, traveling back in time? Or does she come from a completely different universe where the events of Endgame never happened? It's just like the TVA, like where/when does the TVA exist? Yes. The answer to that is yes. I mentioned in my reaction too, but I don't know if you guys know those memes where you ask a question that is not a yes or no question, but the person just answers yes because it's supposed to be confusing. So in this case, it's like, is Sylvie, Lady Loki, or Enchantress? Yes. Where or when does she come from? Yes. It just doesn't really make sense, and it just ties back into what Mobius said last episode, which was that existence is chaos and nothing really makes sense. And you kind of get a little bit of a feel of that with this Sylvie character. But I am wondering, I mentioned this in my reaction as well, if Sylvie will potentially die and leaving Loki, therefore, to kind of finish what she started. That's a possibility, because I am wondering if they can have the two of them going forward. They're not always on the same page. It's either going to be a thing where they end up being on the same page and one of them dies, presumably Sylvie, and then Loki has to finish what Sylvie started, or they're going to be on separate pages. Loki's going to have his own agenda and she's going to have her own agenda, and even that's ultimately going to put them at odds with one another. It should be interesting to see what happens if Sylvie ends up dying or not, but I don't know that they would just introduce her like that and then kill her off so quickly. Let's talk about what they said about love being a dagger. That was just so deep. Loki was basically saying how it's a dagger and it's a weapon that can be wielded near you or away from you. You see yourself in it, and then it's good until it turns around and makes you bleed or something like that. And then when you try and reach for it, it disappears or it's not real. A deep perspective as to what love could be. And it just goes to show that love and hate are actually not that far off from one another, which is something Sylvie says as well. Like, it's love is hate or something to that effect. Just like love and hate are so close to one another, so are our villains and our heroes. They're not actually that far apart. It's just a matter of what their goals are and I guess what they're willing to do to achieve those goals, right? What makes a villain is usually someone that has a goal and is willing to do whatever it takes in order to achieve that goal, including killing, going through extreme measures, whereas heroes typically don't do that. But then you have some people that aren't really truly villains. They just, like Loki, they kind of fit somewhere in between. They do have morals, and I think they do want ultimately to fight for the greater good, but then they kind of also are in between the lines and have their own interests and own agendas, right? And so love is kind of the same way in terms of hate. Like, they almost balance each other out, so to speak. And Thanos is kind of a good example of that too, because he has so much love for the universe, nature, and life, as ironic as it sounds. And in his mind, he has so much love for all of that he believes that in order to balance that out, we have to wipe out half the population to maintain that balance. And so someone like Thanos is a perfect example of how love and hate are kind of coexisting. That was just overall a very deep perspective, I think, about love and hate in general. And then of course, there was something revealed in that conversation. I think you guys know what I'm referring to, where Sylvie asked him about love and whether or not he has met a princess or a prince, and Loki says something about a bit of both. And it definitely got me wondering. My first thought was, are they implying that he's bisexual? It's interesting because we've never, I mentioned in my reaction as well, seen Loki with a love interest, I don't believe. Of all the characters we've seen in the MCU, pretty much all of them have some sort of love interest. Hulk, Black Widow, Captain America, Iron Man, Hawkeye, Ant-Man, Wasp, Wanda, Vision, like they all have had some sort of love interest, but Loki really hasn't. And that was the first hint at where, like, what his love interest could look like and what his sexuality could be. We know that Loki takes many forms as well. He plays many different people, and he also takes on the form of the opposite gender too, right? So if any character in the MCU will be bisexual, it makes sense for it to be Loki, because he kind of is that fluid person already from what we've seen. But that was definitely a big reveal, yet it was done in a very subtle sort of way. But yeah, nonetheless, I think they are hinting at the fact that he might be bisexual, which is kind of fitting to his character. I wonder what they'll do going forward with that. It's also kind of hard to imagine Loki with a love interest, because he's just so, I don't know, he's just Loki. We're so used to seeing him on his own at this point, taking on different forms, different bodies, that it's almost hard to imagine him with someone, but who knows? I mean, anything's possible. They could definitely address that in upcoming movies. His relationship with Sylvie is kind of odd, because although they kind of do give off brother and sister vibes, I feel like there's sometimes like a weird, almost like sexual tension between the two of them. I don't know if I just imagined that, but that would just be weird, because if she's partly himself, then he Loki be involved with himself, so to speak, but if anybody could do that, it would be Loki. And a side note, I do like that we got to see the writers of the show addressing deeper issues. We did get to see that the wealthy and more fortunate were allowed on the escape vessel, whilst the less fortunate people were left behind to die, essentially. And we've seen this time and time again throughout Marvel and other franchises as well. And it's just so disturbing. If you look on the train, there was more than enough room for those people. But the comfort of the wealthier people was seemingly more important than the lives of the less fortunate. It just goes to show how little their lives mean in the grand scheme of things. It's kind of almost like the TVA too, right? They have such little regard for life as well. They have this ultimate power, and it's in the hands of a few, presumably the timekeepers, the TVA, and and everybody else just kind of is at their expense, including gods like Loki. And so there's oddly a parallel there. I'm looking forward to the next episode for sure. This one was a good one. Overall, it was definitely interesting, kind of kept me guessing. We had a cliffhanger there. There were some things I was a little iffy about, like I did mention with Sylvie. I kind of wish she had more of the embodiment of like Viper and Hela, a little bit more kind of mysterious and less standoffish and kind of bickering with Loki. But I mean, who knows? It could develop into something more. We could see them working on the same team by the end of this and actually become really close. And thus, it'll make us appreciate this banter a lot more. Kind of like Anakin and Ahsoka from the Clone Wars, right? They started off arguing a lot, and then their relationship, for those of you who watch the Clone Wars, we know like what it developed into, right? So it could just be part of the process. Probably I would give this episode maybe like an 8 out of 10. It wasn't quite as good as the first two. I don't know if I would say that, but it definitely was different. Like I said, it kind of took us a step back a little bit, kind of like that intermission episode in WandaVision, the first episode we got outside the sitcom to kind of explain what's going on in the outside world now. This show is doing the same thing. We're going to find out more about the TVA and who the person is at the top controlling the TVA, and that will ultimately be the main villain in this story, right? Is it Mephisto, perhaps? The Mephisto jokes will never get old, guys. You guys let me know what you thought down below in the comments. As always, keep the discussion going. And don't forget to leave a like and subscribe and share the video as well, guys. And I will see you next week for an all-new episode of Loki. Until next time, guys, take care and see you soon. Okay, guys, let's see if Sylvie was right.
You know what brain freeze is, don't you? It permeates the roof of your mouth and freezes the synapses in your brain. Your memories are literally frozen in place.
I'm thinking of the lyrics to a song. I'm singing it in my head. 1, 2, 3. I don't know. The song still kind of continued, but it did kind of pause for a second. You might be onto something, Sylvie. You guys try it. Let me know what you think. New TikTok challenge, perhaps?